Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TechRaptor podcast. I'm Robert Scarpanito, your features editor.
Andrew Rutten, editor-in-chief.
Andrew Stretch, digital games editor.
Digital games editor. This week on the podcast, we're trying...
Anyway.
What? Okay. This week on the podcast, we're trying something a little bit different. We took a break last week to kind of find ourselves. We went up to the monasteries, did a little bit of soul searching, Batman Begins, etc. And here we are now with a whole new idea. So for this week's episode,
Never been done before.
never been done. This is the newest idea on the planet.
That's right.
Yes. We're gonna go through because I don't know if you've heard. Microsoft's trying to acquire Xbox, or no, they have Xbox. They're trying to acquire Activision-Blizzard.
I think trying is a bit of a weak word choice at this point.
It's true,
because probably by the time this is released or very shortly after, it will be concrete.
Yes. So what we thought about doing is let's take a look at Xbox's long history in the games industry. They've been around for about 23-ish years as Xbox, right? Microsoft has been around longer, obviously, but they've acquired a lot of studios in that time, more than just the big ones that we're all thinking about probably. So we're just going to go through all the studios that they've founded and or acquired throughout their years to just kind of give a little snapshot of each studio and see what games they've made, what games they are working on that we are aware of, and just kind of get a good glimpse of what the future could look like for Xbox, especially in the midst of this potential but pretty much 100% sure acquisition of Activision-Blizzard. But before we dive in, if you do enjoy this show, if you do like what we do, please leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on. It does help us a lot. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Let us know down below what you think of this new format when you're done.
Dumb as the opinions are.
Yes. Before you've even heard them, just kind of chime in down below. Stretch's opinion sucks.
Hey, it's fair. I've had some pretty shit takes over the years. I'll cop to that.
At least he's not fucking Giaco. Did you hear what he said about fucking Zelda Tears of the Kingdom?
Yeah, he loved it. What a weirdo.
That dude.
I love your take on your opinion is wrong because it's not my opinion. Did you hear this fucking guy with his opinion? People are allowed to have different opinions.
That's not
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Certain ones are okayed.
Yeah,
that's right. TechRaptor is entering its golden age of singular mind think. We are not allowed to disagree with each other. It's going to be a very boring podcast going forward.
Yes, I agree. Anyway, we'll start from the beginning. So in 1999, that's when Microsoft started getting into the games business. That's when they kind of they acquired some devs back then.
Dash even born yet, was he? I don't even know. Probably not. Dash, the fucking Zoomers. Dash wasn't even a twinkle in people's eyes yet.
No, this was a pre 9/11 world.
Oh God, that's right.
Or when Microsoft started really getting into games, because they did MS-DOS and stuff and PC, but they established Microsoft Game Studios, which eventually became what we know now as Xbox Game Studios. That was established in the year 2000, and one of their earliest studios they founded was actually Turn 10 Studios, which I didn't realize how old Turn 10 turned 10 over 10 years ago.
Yes.
Twice
on the
that.
block.
22 years ago.
Yes. But these are the folks known for Forza Motorsport, and they also do Forza Horizon. They help out with them and Playground Games kind of collaborate on it. But this is kind of the direct competitor to PlayStation's Gran Turismo, right? I never realized just how old this company was, but now we know they're working on Forza Motorsport, the new one.
Yes, that's just called Forza Motorsport this time.
Not to be confused with Forza Motorsport,
not
the old
original
one. Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting because Forza's been around all of Xbox's history.
Mm-hmm.
Still going to this day, still one of their premier series. I don't think it's a mainstream series necessarily. Horizon more is now.
Yes.
Motorsport is very niche because it's very technical. They're a high quality series. Probably their most consistent.
Probably around that time they had Project Gotham Racing was also a big Xbox title. Wasn't first party, but they kind of still had that mix of we've got the for like technical racing fans and for racing game fans.
Yeah,
That
was
now,
like the heyday of racing games, you know.
Yeah,
A lot.
which is funny. Like I never owned an Xbox or a 360. I think the Xbox One X is the first time I really jumped. So I'm a pretty late Xbox adopter, but from the outside looking in, I've always seen Xbox as the shooter console because it started with Halo, and then 360 it owned Call of Duty, which I guess it's
it had all the
going to
marketing.
again soon. But so I've never thought of it as like the racing console. Like I guess to me, PlayStation has always been like, if you want a racing game, you buy PlayStation because of Gran Turismo, right?
Yeah.
So I guess
There's a joke in there about the quality of Xbox live chat and racing, but we won't.
Which is funny because I think during this time period, Need for Speed was by far the most popular racing series.
That's true with
Like
EA,
it
right?
was huge that time.
I mean, they made video games about that Aaron Paul
weird
movie.
Yeah. And then there was also Burnout, right? But that wasn't like the racing, like it wasn't hardcore racing. It was more
that was for crazy taxi fans who grew up.
Such a good game.
100%. Burnout Paradise is still like classic.
They're great
game. And then in 2002, Xbox acquired Rare for $375 million, which sounds like a lot of money. But hindsight, you know.
Hindsight, but also like it's 2002. That's a lot of money then.
That's true.
First, like acquiring game studios and stuff. That was a pretty big number.
Yeah. Before this, Rare was kind of like a Nintendo. Like they weren't under Nintendo, but they were pretty much only doing Nintendo stuff, right? Like they're known for GoldenEye, they're known for Donkey Kong Country, fucking Battletoads, Banjo-Kazooie, right? And then Perfect Dark, which is coming back, sort of, maybe.
Supposedly, that's so they say.
Well, we've had Battletoads return.
Yeah,
people are chomping at the bit for more Banjo-Kazooie. Donkey Kong is continuing to be Nintendo.
Yeah,
right.
GoldenEye is getting a remake, remaster.
Didn't they put it out? It's out or something now, or
is it out?
I want to say it's out. Yeah.
Oh, they had the weird thing where they released it on the Switch, and only the Switch version had the online multiplayer, and no other version did for some reason.
Yeah, really
weird. That's right. Yeah, but since the acquisition, I feel like Rare hasn't been as like, I feel like a lot of people know Rare games from before the Xbox acquisition.
Yes, that's what the games they think of.
Yeah, when you think of Rare, you think of those games. You think of Conker's Bad Fur Day. You don't think of Viva Pinata as much. Not that it's like a bad game, you know. I hear people talk.
More people
about
should think of Viva Pinata. It was pretty fucking crazy when it came out.
Right, but just in terms of like mainstream, like when you think of Rare, it's not in the top 3. No. I would say.
I mean, between Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts and Perfect Dark Zero, they really shot themselves in the foot, squandered those franchises, and then Xbox or Microsoft was just kind of like, we're gonna sequester you over there to Connect Land. Don't touch anything else, and it was pretty weird.
I think they made several of the Connect games, didn't they?
Yeah. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the Kinect, if you're watching us on YouTube, Stretch does have one in the background, watching his every move.
So that's sitting on a 360, but that is the Xbox One Kinect. I was not able to find my original 360 Kinect. It's here somewhere though.
Somewhere.
In my bag of junk.
Yeah. But now Rare, I think, as an Xbox studio, is probably most known for Sea of Thieves. I mean, that's like been their baby for years now. It's their live service pirate game, which honestly is pretty fun. I do like Sea of Thieves.
Not a bad game.
Yeah.
I think it took a little bit to get there, though. When it launched, not so hot.
It's not as bad as No Man's Sky, but it's that similar kind of space of a weird launch, and then just people who love it.
Yes.
But the perception still isn't quite there.
Yeah. I mean, I think because now they've been doing a lot of those collabs, right? Like they've done like Pirates of the Caribbean one. They're doing a Return to Monkey Island one,
Yeah.
right?
Or it's happened. I can't remember. One of the two.
Yeah,
I think it's coming out, or it was like a day and date drop.
yeah,
Something.
but yeah, it's it's.
I'll say it exists or it will exist.
Right. And now they're working on Everwild, which is one of those it's one of those where we heard about it and then did not hear about it for years. This might be the first time you've heard the words Everwild in years.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, when was that shit? Like, that was a while ago.
My brain wants to say pre-COVID, but I feel like just the past 3 years has messed with my sense of time.
Everwild was first announced. Development began on Everwild in 2014. It was announced during the Xbox 2019.
That's what I was thinking in my head. 2019. Wait, that means we were there.
Yes.
We don't remember it.
Well, it was Keanu Reeves was so
That's
breathtaking.
True. We were too enamored with Keanu that we forgot all else.
Yeah.
I like Tim Schafer being there.
Yes.
Which he will be talking about him later.
Yes, we will, because that was a pretty big E3 for Microsoft. But yeah, Everwild, I'm kind of, we haven't seen anything about it in the past 4 years since it was publicly announced, right? And I think next year we're going to hit that 10-year anniversary of the development time if they started in 2014. And the last time I played a video game that was in development for 10 years, it was okay. So
was that Duke Nukem, or was that the Team Ico one, The Last Guardian?
I was thinking of either of the latest Final Fantasies that weren't MMOs and not 16.
Okay.
Well, wait, wasn't there something? What was something that finally came out? There was another game here recently that was like pretty
long development.
Yeah, this is gonna bother me now. That was like more well received than you would have thought, because of how fucking long it been it took to make.
I mean, clearly it was. We just had that in post, and that's
it.
yeah,
you're right, Stretch.
That's
I remember that game.
Yes, it was great to see that had such a good critical reception.
So that was Rare in 2002. That was when the acquisition happened. And just as a reminder again, amid all this, there's a lot of other studios at the time that Microsoft had acquired for their gaming division. Most of those have been closed or consolidated into the rest of like what is now Xbox Game Studios. So then the next big studio under this umbrella is in 2007, 343 Industries was founded because Bungie was like deuces and went independent. Kind of. They still worked on, what was it, ODST, right? Like for Xbox without being an Xbox studio anymore. But 343 kind of picked it up starting with Halo 4. And
people loved it. They really love them.
Oh, man.
Almost as much as the Halo TV show, for sure.
They really love these Halo games that they make. They're not sad Bungie's gone at all. Imagine if they had made fucking Destiny but Halo in the Halo world. How fucking wild.
Do you think that's what they were trying to make Infinite, kind of?
I don't know.
No. But that's what 343 is working on currently. I mean, like Halo Infinite, just like it's an ongoing live service game. So, we're getting more and more seasons of it. We don't know if 343 is working on some other project, as far as I'm aware. Right?
There's some stuff, like there's some rumors of shakeup of 343 being not necessarily fully taken off Halo, but like letting some other people do some shit.
Yeah, there was some rumor mill about whether 343 would continue to work on Infinite in a live service capacity and just like focus on honing that. Word of any additional story DLC was that it was scrapped in the plans. Which is a shame, because really the story of Halo Infinite's launch, the story was kind of much better put together, and especially with things like campaign, co-op, and like split screen being
staples of the game. Like there's not many games you can say that where it might be a little throwaway feature, but like very, very much in the Halo DNA.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, it was there. It worked on the Xbox One. No, not the one, on the Series consoles.
Mm.
But it got really janky on the one, and I wonder if that's kind of the same parody sketchiness that they're trying to meet, that is like the same reason that Baldur's Gate 3 isn't releasing on Xbox at the moment.
Maybe that's man. I feels like that's something they got to give up on. So
Yeah, it's like just one is more powerful than the other.
Yeah, just
It's
live with
okay.
it. Right. But yeah, 343 maybe is, I don't know. It's tough because it was definitely started because back in the day, like before ODST came out, it was like Xbox is the Halo console. Like if it doesn't have
Very
Halo,
much,
what's the point of it, right? So I can understand why
Mhm.
Microsoft founded that company, because like they got to keep the Halo
Definitely.
torch going for sure, right? But now looking at it, it's kind of like, well, did we? I mean, I guess they did need it, but it's definitely not grown into what everyone was thinking it could be back in 2007, right?
Yeah, back 2006, 2007, you would think Xbox, you would think Halo, with the same amount of fusion as you think PlayStation and God of War now.
Right.
Which is ironic because you wouldn't have had, like, if you thought PlayStation 2, God of War would not realistically be the first thing to jump to mind.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's the two images are very, very separate from one another now.
Yeah. Like, and this is making me think too, because like for a while now, I think, just for the past year or two, I feel like Xbox's biggest identity is Game Pass, right? Like that's the new equivalent, which isn't like, it's a strong, like I love, like, we all like Game Pass, it's great, right?
It's the best thing in games, no bar none. Best
sponsored by Game Pass.
Yeah.
But it's not really like it's not Master Chief. There's no like single character or mascot or anything you can like rally behind with Game Pass. Whereas with Halo, it's like, oh yeah, you look at Master Chief and that's the Xbox,
Mhm.
right? So it is kind of interesting, I think, seeing how much the brand identity of Xbox has been kind of diluted since Halo's kind of fallen into not obscurity, but not great graces.
Yeah.
You've heard about games as a service. Welcome to brands as a service.
It's kind of that.
Yeah.
It's definitely wild how much it's changed. Like they showed the first Xbox with The Rock.
Yes.
There, stand next to Bill Gates. Like
just making Bill Gates look small. I mean, The Rock makes everyone look small. Yeah.
Well,
but,
and that's also when The Rock was small. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's true.
The Rock from Xbox launch to The Rock now, The Rock now ate that Rock.
Yes.
Yeah. But they've definitely changed a lot, where they were trying to be this like edgier place in a way. Like even with their like talking with the way they talk about the controller, the huge fucking controller, the original Xbox. Yeah.
The Duke. But yeah, that's 343. That's Halo, baby. That's Xbox.
Love them or hate them. I mean, they are carrying the weight of the biggest IP in Microsoft's. Well, I don't know if it's the biggest anymore, but it was
as of potentially today.
It carried their console, their company for a while.
Yeah, you could say it might not have been up to the task potentially.
Well, I mean, Bungie was still around, probably would be, but
yeah. Next big studio, the Coalition. So they were established in 2010 under Xbox. Back then, they've gone through different names. They were Microsoft Studios Vancouver. They became Black Tusk Studios. But then in 2015, they rebranded as the Coalition because in 2014, Xbox acquired the rights to Gears of War from Epic and put Black Tusk Games, now the Coalition, on that brand. So in the same way that 343 Industries is the Halo studio, the Coalition is the Gears studio for Xbox. And they've developed since then. They've developed Gears 4, Gears 5. I think I saw that they're working on a Gears 6, right? Isn't that a thing?
I think so.
Yeah.
No, isn't the Coalition is currently working on Perfect Dark?
I thought that was the Initiative. The other the name.
Yeah, you right. It's the other the word.
Yeah. Coalition. I don't know if there's been anything set, but I mean, it's probably Gear 6.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just that I've heard about them because they've been helping on
Could've been.
Perfect Dark.
Could have been.
that could be it. Yeah, I mean, the way Gears 5 ends, from what I understand, it's like, okay, there's probably
Sure.
there's more probably.
So these are good to go back to back, because if Halo's number 1, Gears is number 2, right? For Microsoft.
For
Xbox?
I guess was back when it was Gears 1, 2, and 3. Was that Xbox exclusive? When it was like Epic doing them? It was, right? Because it wasn't on PlayStation.
I think, yeah, I've always associated Gears with Xbox. I don't think it was on anything else.
Yeah, because I think so. Because I think that's because PlayStation for a while was trying to find out what's their third-person cover-based shooter that they could use to rival Gears of War, and
yeah, Gears of War was only 360.
I thought so. Yeah,
yeah.
They were.
It was 360 in games for Windows Live, probably.
Oh, the best.
What a piece of shit that was. What a garbage. For people that don't,
I knew that as we're talking about Xbox history, I knew that I needed to drop in a Games for Windows Live comment.
It worked like never.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so clunky and such a pain in shit. That, for people that don't know, it was the old login server, like kind of like. What's comparative now? Like
Steam, but shitty.
Kind, not really even like Steam. I guess it kind of was, but yeah, it was like another like software you had to log into to get into games.
Yeah, it was another DRM. You know,
essentially, yeah, and it sucked. They didn't work sometimes.
It was DRM that also had like all of your multiplayer features, friend lobbies. Yeah, it was after they went from GameSpy as their networking service for Halo 1.
I haven't thought of GameSpy in a long time.
Man, Stretch, you're like on a mission to unlock every core memory. I feel like
GameSpy, yeah. Anyway, that's a rabbit hole, but yeah, that's right.
Which ironically is not spyware.
No.
Yeah. I think Norton would still flag it from time to time.
Yeah, it was. That's funny.
Yeah,
but yeah, Games for Windows Live fucking sucked. It was so bad. It was like remember when Origin launched? People remember Origin, and like it was worse than that. But then they just didn't make it better. Just you lived with it.
Games for Windows Live had one thing that was truly fantastic, and you know what that was, Otten?
Shut up! I don't want to care about gamer
achievements.
Yeah,
that's how you could log in and get your Halo 2 for PC achievements.
Gross.
Yeah, I'm so glad the Coalition could remind us of the beauty of Games for Windows Live.
Anyway.
Which is now that's replaced by the Xbox app on PC. Like everything Microsoft gaming is just the Xbox, both on PC and Xbox itself. Yeah.
But speaking of like Gears of War, they've kind of like really fallen off in terms of popularity. Like they're not nearly as big as they were, and you don't hear about the game as much anymore.
When 5 came out, it was massive.
Oh, it was pretty big. But I think I would be curious to know what like the popularity, like people playing it was. I feel like it kind of went away pretty quick.
I'm not sure whether just because like a lot of the game modes for it, at least for like multiplayer and the stuff that like, you know, gives games longevity and stuff. I believe that a lot of the Gears of War ones were objective based.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that it ever, like the Gears of War games were big, but I don't think that they ever had that same kind of esports staying power.
I agree. Yeah,
is probably the only reason that we still hear people talking about a lot of
famous for the horde mode, right? That's what.
Yeah, the horde mode
brought to everybody. Horde mode, and people really love the story. They really love the characters. Those are the big deal.
Yeah, and that honestly feels like a memory hole to me because like I, again, never owned an Xbox 360, so I never played the Gears of War games. But there was a point where I had to like write along like the timeline of Gears of War feature for a site, and so I read through it all, and I was like, I thought this was just big dumb muscle men killing alien. Like, what is this? Why is there like the existential crisis of humanity here? Like, what is going on?
Cliffy B knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Like I remember, like there's still some like Reddit threads I see. There's sometimes where people are like, you know, what's your saddest moment in gaming? And someone's like, oh, this thing that happens in Gears of War 3, and I'm like, people cry to this.
Yeah.
But you know, hey, I mean, props to Cliffy B making the. I was pleasantly surprised at how much of story there is with Gears of War, like the trilogy. And I've read through like Gears of War 4 and 5's, like 5, because I actually played a bit of it too. There's like, it's like surprising how much story there was. I was expecting just kind of a basic third person cover shooter, but you know, there's more to it.
I'm gonna this is my one gaming blind spot, the Gears of War franchise. Like I had a 360. I have probably played the intro mission to the first Gears of War like 3 times and have just never progressed any further. And just like the entire franchise for me is just like I know nothing about this franchise. It is a complete gap in my knowledge.
I think that's true for a lot of people for as big as Gears was.
Yeah, I feel like the fans for it were big fans.
Oh yeah.
You know, yeah. But you know, we might see a Gears of War 6 maybe, or just Gears
We'll
6.
see
I think
some more. I mean, they put out that Gears Tactics. They did the Gears Funko Pop game. Like Gears is very much on the brain at Microsoft.
I think it was only like in the last year or two that we were still getting updates for Gears 5. So
yeah,
there's still, you know, it's still a thing. How much of a thing it is, hard to say for sure. But yeah. And now we're on to the first truly big acquisition. This is the first in the string of many.
Arguably still the biggest and most important one.
Until maybe today.
I don't know.
You think so? Okay. All right. So Mojang, however you want to pronounce it. If you're from Sweden, let us know. That was acquired in 2014 for $2.5 billion, which at the time was a groundbreaking, shocking price tag.
For that perspective, all of Star Wars sold for $4 billion.
Yes.
So
and the entirety of Rare was only 375 million.
Yeah.
Right.
So this was 8 times as much.
Yes.
For basically one game.
For like 12, but plus 12 years of inflation, right? So
yeah,
there's a bit of that. But this was the first acquisition under like Phil Spencer being the Mr. Xbox leader guy, right? Yeah. And you might know them from Minecraft.
What about Scrolls?
Which is now, I didn't realize this. It's now called Caller's Bane. Yeah. Which I didn't remember. That's
really funny that Elder Scrolls ZeniMax sued them, and now Microsoft owns them.
Exactly right. I love that. It's so funny. But
my dad can beat up your dad.
Well, my dad just bought your dad.
Yeah, my dad owns your dad.
He literally owns him now.
Big Bruce Wayne energy.
Right. Although I think that ZeniMax sued them back when Mojang was still independent. They weren't under Xbox at the time. Yeah. But I love that in 2020, this is where we learned from Matt Booty that this was Microsoft's first acquisition where they treated it differently than previous ones, where they were a lot more hands off and let Mojang do its thing. You know, they weren't very prescriptive, which I think says a lot because a majority of the studios that were either closed or consolidated were before 2014. The only one that's really survived since then in acquisitions, as far as my research goes, is Rare, which you could arguably say coasted on like such great brand recognition, right? But Mojang being able to act independently, they're pumping out Minecraft, and everybody loves Minecraft, so.
I'm still waiting for the day that a Minecraft 2 is announced. Because I
don't know why the idea of that is so funny to me. Minecraft 2? What is a Minecraft 2? I don't even know. Minecraft's like know. Tetris to me now. There's just Minecraft.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine a Tetris 2 either.
That's what I mean. Like if someone said Tetris 2, I'd say fuck off.
But Tetris has evolved all over the place.
I know there's all different kind of versions of it, but yeah, there's not like a I don't know.
But there's a Z block now. No, that already exists. You know, it's like I don't know
Yeah.
what you can do with Tetris, right? But same with Minecraft. I can't imagine in Minecraft 2. Like if I'm in my brain, all I'm imagining is something that like looks like it's built in Unreal Engine, which already feels incredibly wrong.
I don't know. I mean, ray traced Minecraft looks fucking wild.
It does, yeah. But yeah, Mojang, big Minecraft video.
Yeah.
Minecraft
is Minecraft the best selling game of all time now?
I thought it was still Tetris.
I think it passed Tetris.
Ooh.
I know Tetris has been one forever because it's sold like 400 million or something. It's fucking insane.
Right. I guess Minecraft is on
Minecraft.
Literally, it is.
Yeah, it is. Okay,
Wow.
Minecraft, and then GTA 5, and then
GTA
Tetris,
5.
and then Wii Sports.
Classic.
Thing with Tetris though, it's I would really wonder how they got to that number because it's pretty. I imagine it's higher.
I mean, going off the Wikipedia article, Grand Theft Auto is at 180 million units sold.
Stupid.
Minecraft is at 238.
Yeah, I knew Minecraft was way up there.
Yeah, because like it's on every you can pull up your phone right now and buy Minecraft if you don't already have it.
Yeah,
you know?
But not only that, but like every few years they have a new crop of like audience, like a big one, a very captive audience also.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, like I think it says a lot that Minecraft. I mean, it was in alpha for a long time, but I think it officially 1.0'd in like 2011 or 12. I want to say. Yeah, 2011. And then they didn't make another. Well, they made Scrolls, but then they didn't really make another game until Minecraft, the dungeon crawler, Minecraft Dungeons.
Yep.
Right.
Were they the lead dev on that? I can't remember.
I think they assisted with it.
Yeah, I think they've really just been Minecraft all the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which whatever, dude. Like, there's so much fucking merch for Minecraft, and like we just said, it's sold everywhere. It's sold an insane amount. Like, it is mind-boggling how huge that game is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's basically its own brand at this point.
Might as well be.
But I do find it fascinating that we were just talking about how Mr. Halo, Mr. Chief, was the face of Xbox.
Yeah.
And Minecraft Steve does not feel like the face of Xbox, despite being like magnitudes more popular.
Yeah.
I mean, you can dress Minecraft Steve up as Master Chief.
True. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, it's the different purpose of what they're like. They bought them thinking like, oh, this is just this is a way to print money. Like, we don't really have to do much, and it's gonna be crazy big. Mm-hmm. And they've still treated it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Mojang. Probably their biggest acquisition.
I think so. I know we're going to talk about later. We'll talk about Bethesda and stuff. I think Minecraft's still bigger. Yeah. As huge as those games are, Minecraft is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Just to tease, do you think that it's important because of it itself, or because of like what it set in motion and like the things that it led to?
Both, because I think that it was not only is Minecraft itself massive, but I think that security of like, oh, this is just a solid, a known quantity that we know we're going to get money from, and honestly, that they don't have to put that much effort in to do. I see what's in those Minecraft updates. I know what's going on.
Yeah, you're a big Minecraft guy.
Yeah, I just say I follow the news on Minecraft, and there's not a lot going on. Yeah, and it still sells incredibly. So like, I imagine it's the ROI on Minecraft is just through the fucking roof.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Minecraft, right? It's like sure, yeah, you can go through the story, kill the Ender Dragon or whatever, right? But like, still, most of your time is going to be like, I wonder if I can build a house like that.
Yeah, you're just gonna fuck around.
Yeah. I wonder if I can figure out this red.
I think that is a proof of like, okay, to show, and I think it's important for. We'll get into it later too, like to show Microsoft higher ups, because if we think about back in 2014, Xbox was not big at Microsoft. Like it was an important part of the company, but it wasn't like a super key part of the company. It was like, oh, this is our little side business that we have going still. Mm-hmm. And I think that my guess would be that once they, for one, Phil was able to convince them like this $2.5 billion, we're going to make that back. Don't worry. Like we'll get that. And then I'm sure that really like propelled it to like, oh fuck, this is making a ton of money. Mm-hmm. And really showed them, oh, there's a lot of money in games. We can do something here. And I imagine that changed a lot for them.
Yeah. And I think too, just looking at what Minecraft is, I feel like Microsoft was the perfect like company to own it, only because
Yeah.
before, when it was independent, it was under Notch, who's an interesting person.
Yeah.
On social media, he has some interesting takes.
Don't read his tweets.
Yep, or read them with caution.
Wow.
But then, because now you look at Minecraft, and it's like a very like it's there's Legos, and then Lego.
Thank you.
Or there's Lego, and then there's Minecraft. They're both for kids. I mean, adults can play with them too, but they're very like family friendly brands.
And now there's Lego Minecraft.
There is. And I was thinking of like, because I played Minecraft back in the alpha days. So it was like, I mean, of course, like if you're playing games at that time, it's like, you got to see what this Minecraft thing's about.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling like, okay, this could be family friendly, but it wasn't like overtly like for kids or whatever. And Microsoft just like really amped that up in the best way.
Also, outside of everything that Microsoft themselves did, the way that Minecraft was picked up by the communities, like by YouTubers and stuff, that also, like, PewDiePie made his empire on playing Minecraft and being funny, and a lot more to it, than being reductive, but like that's also, every time you see a kid watching any of these current YouTubers for different reasons, whether it's mod content or speed runs or whatever, it just money goes back into Minecraft.
Yeah. So there we go. That's Microsoft's arguably biggest acquisition. Maybe we'll revisit that at the end of this. So next we've got like a slew of, because E3 2018 was really big for Microsoft. I think this is where it really just came into focus, like that the narrative of they're just acquiring a bunch of studios and not doing anything with them or whatever, arguably started with 2018, where they acquired like, what is it, 6? Or they announced they acquired.
They had some big over moments on stage.
Yes. Playground Games is one of them. This was established. They were established in 2010, and they only worked on Forza Horizon games. This is one of those, like, for all intents and purposes, there.
We're like, oh, they didn't own them already? That was like, oh.
It's like when Sony bought Blue Point.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they are known for Forza Horizon. The last thing they put out was a Forza Horizon 5, which is, if you played Forza 3, you've played 5.
Hey, but this one's in Mexico or whatever. I don't remember.
Sure. I mean, it is nice, and I love the controller. It's very pretty. And they're currently working on not a Forza Horizon 6, but the new Fable.
Very intriguing what will happen there. Yeah.
Yes. Which, I mean, because I think Playground Games was made for like the open world stuff. That was their big focus. So applying that to Fable will be interesting.
I think what do you think there'll be cars in the new Fable? Some kind of vehicle?
I hope so. I hope it's just like a real ass McLaren. Like, everything's fantasy, but then it's like, here's just a dead ass 1-to-1 McLaren. Get in.
No, dude, they got Iwadi in there. It's very British. It'll be something like a Land Rover or something.
Oh yeah.
Or some other British.
It's not going to be an Aston Martin.
Could be.
It's a Mustang, but it's just a red horse.
But I feel, unlike Everwild, which you talked about earlier, Fable at least has recently been like, it has a sign of life,
Well, yeah, we found only just recently, in terms
very
of
recently,
a month ago.
Yep. And even then, no gameplay. It's just like, I mean, I love Richard Ayoade, so like,
why not?
I was satisfied with it. But yeah, it was here's Fable. Just a reminder, it's happening. And then the next one, Compulsion Games. They're a smaller studio. They were known for Contrast back in the day, which I love. That was a nice little like kind of 2D, 3D platformer thing. And then they made We Happy Few, which
might be one of the coolest things I remember, or like coolest reveals at an E3 that I can remember.
Yes.
That was E3 2016, and boy, is that all styles, no substance, huh?
Yeah, that's one of those games. Like, it's very cool on paper.
Yeah.
And then it happened.
It's such a cool aesthetic to it. It's like, boy, this game sucks.
The fact that it was a weird like survival management, like, make sure that you drink enough water, and it's like, what? Like, I thought that this was gonna be like a weird trippy BioShock game.
That's the vibe the reveal felt like the trailers gave.
Yeah, this is the one where it's like a dystopian, like all the like the police bobbies are like the all-seeing eye kind of vibe, and you have to like, and it's basically 1984. You work at a newspaper and you like rewrite the news to fit the narrative, et cetera, and
everyone's taking their joy.
Yes,
gotta take their joy to make them happy and not see the fucking horrors of the world. Needed to be taking joy while playing that game,
right? But so, and then in contrast, that was like, you know, a 3D platformer, but then like you use the shadows of the world and you become your shadow, and that's the 2D platforming
contrast was pretty cool.
That was a really cool game. So the thing with Compulsion is they have interesting ideas. Sometimes they execute well, sometimes they don't. And their next game that we know they're working on is South of Midnight, which is also a very recent reveal. And that looks the same exact, like,
so cool.
Cool idea. Very curious about the execution.
I love the art of it. I love it. I love the vibe it's giving.
It's the one in the bayou.
Super dubious.
Yes.
Deep South Bayou Coraline. I'm waiting for the other foot to drop.
I'm basically just the Fry meme when I stare at it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Like I like what's going on here, but am I gonna like what's going on here? You know what I mean?
Right. Undead Labs, pretty similar to Playground, because all they've done
is that
State of Decay, the zombie game.
A very successful and well-received franchise that for some reason they still like to blow up.
I mean, they're working on State of Decay 3, so
obviously it sells well enough.
That was also acquired in this 2018 E3 presentation, or announced at that. I doubt it's not like they signed the papers on stage. Bring them out one at a time. Let's sign all these contracts.
Make it like when the president signed a bill, a pen for each one.
Right. And then here are two back-to-back that are pretty big acquisitions, I would say. Obsidian and InXile, two like really famous names in the RPG space. Obsidian, you might know them for completing other companies' RPG sequels. They've done KOTOR 2, they've done Fallout New Vegas, they've done what's the other? There's another one where it was
there's another one I know of. Is there another one?
I feel like there is. I'm forgetting. Well, didn't they work on Baldur's Gate 2? No, that was BioWare, right?
That's BioWare.
Yeah. I'm forgetting. I'm sure if there is another one, comment down below. Remind us.
No, it's
remember? There you go. That's it. That's the one. Yeah. Thank you.
Because they did the cool thing with the feature, and they had that great voice actor.
I didn't really like that
good performance.
Feature.
Yeah, I get that. But they've also done a lot of original RPGs, right? They've done Pillars of Eternity, they've done Tyranny, and then after Xbox, well, they were working on it, before the acquisition. But there's the Outer Worlds, not to be confused with the Outer Wilds that came out that year as well.
Fallout.
Yeah,
I feel like Outer Worlds and around this acquisition was also really, I feel, when that narrative of day one on Game Pass for first party studios was also announced. Because I remember like Outer Worlds was very much hyped up as a big, like, if you have Game Pass, then play it here day one. And that was a big thing. I remember. I
think you're right, because I think it was we were at that E3 where I saw it. I went to one of the previews of it. And I remember sitting at our dumb fucking swag table that we made of all the swag that we got at E3 that was in all our videos.
Yeah.
And I think I was on my laptop doing something, and that's when I started my subscription for Game Pass. So I think you're on it. Because they had that was, well, it's now brought back. So this is actually topical. That was back then. They had that $1 deal to get in on, and now they're doing that again. They just announced they're doing it again. Greatest deal. If you're not on Game Pass, fucking get on it now, because that's an insanity.
This episode is brought to you by Xbox Game Pass. Thanks for the check, Phil.
Sure. I mean, if it's a good thing, I'm gonna hype it all the time. I've said it a million times. If I was a kid and Game Pass existed, I would have shit myself. I would have absolutely shit myself.
Oh, for sure. But Outer Worlds did come out on all the platforms. It even came out on Switch after the fact. It got ported to the Switch. Would not recommend playing it there personally. It does.
I just wouldn't recommend playing it, but yeah.
Wow. All right. Okay. You can have a wrong opinion. That's fine. After Xbox, they also made Grounded, which was at early access. You're a little kid, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kid's little kid.
Technically only fully released like last year. year before,
fully released. Yeah, like pretty recently.
2022, I think.
Yeah, and Pentiment, which I think Auden, you really love that game.
Phenomenal. I don't love it as much as Austin, but it's a great game.
Aren't enough big dumb anime fights in it for me.
That's fair. It is.
I mean, there is a murder or
is
two.
Is it an anime murder?
I mean, it's a whatever
Animated.
kind of murder you want it to be. That's kind of the point of the game.
But yeah, they're known for all their story-based stuff. Usually, is the big Obsidian kind of hallmark. Would you describe Pentiment as funny? Because I always think of Obsidian as making funny games too.
I think there was probably a couple of humorous moments, but definitely it's a lot more serious, a lot more historical. It definitely tries to sit you into that whatever century, I can't recall which one now, of like what would an actual life be in a little village that is around an abbey. Yes, not as funny, I don't think. It's very well written though. It's a great game.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Obsidian usually also has like they're pretty well written stuff. Usually, at least I would say. Like as far as video games go, I feel like their bar of writing is higher than the average. Yeah. And they're currently working on Avowed, which is Skyrim, but not.
Yeah.
And The Outer Worlds
that
2
had a cool art style, but now it does not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Outer Worlds 2, which is Fallout, but not.
Yes.
Yeah. Fallout, but not, and in space. Not to be confused with Starfield, which is also Fallout in space.
Yes.
But yeah, so Obsidian has two things on the slate that we are aware of. I believe Avowed is going to be the first one to come out from it, just because we're seeing more of Avowed than we are of Outer Worlds 2, right?
I'd say Outer Worlds is more Star Wars sci-fi, and Starfield's more like 2001 sci-fi.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah. But Obsidian is probably one of their to me at least, is one of the ones where I'm like, really looking forward to what they have next under Xbox's umbrella.
I agree. I think it's in terms of having a proven track record of making solid games. I think they're up there as one of the best ones they did.
Agreed. And then the other big RPG company, InXile, they've done Bard's Tale. They worked on Wasteland 2 and 3. And now they're working on Clockwork Revolution, which we just saw a trailer for that. Also with South of Midnight and Fable.
Did you have you guys played BioShock Infinite? I've heard of it.
I say it looks like a mix of BioShock Infinite and We Happy Few.
Yeah. Hopefully it sounds better than that.
Maybe it will be like it has a good chance of being better than BioShock Infinite. Has any game like been that critically acclaimed to being like a total everybody's turned on it? I want to know. I want you to know I was a hipster BioShock Infinite hater.
You hated it before everyone else.
I didn't like it. I don't really like BioShock as serious, but
I really enjoy BioShock Infinite.
I know you did. I already knew it.
Surprise!
Yeah. I think as a shooter, I enjoyed it. It was fun, like blasting and going pew pew.
There's some cool moments of it. The idea of Elizabeth having that, like being on this of the partners and games was pretty neat. But anyway, we're talking about Xbox. What are you talking about BioShock for? What are you doing?
Because Clockwork Revolution, the sequel to BioShock.
BioShock. Yes, that's the new Ken Levine game, right?
Yep.
That's it. Yep. Nobody fact check it.
What is the new Ken Levine? Judas, right? Judas. It has a Jesus
I don't think
name.
it's Judas.
Oh, is this Stretch fact checking us right now? New Ken Levine game.
We did see it for the first time.
We did see it. I don't
recall what it was though.
I'm like 80% sure it's Judas. You're making me bring my sureness down to 70.
It's not Judas. It's not Judas.
Guys, good news. Ken Levine is going to be in concert soon.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
There's a country singer named Ken Levine, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Ken Levine, the game director.
Yes. Man. What's the name of the studio? Like
Judas. Ghost Story Games.
Gotcha.
Called it.
Judas. Still looks weird too. But yeah, Clockwork Revolution and InXile. I mean, it's going to be another one of those big RPG, like truly role playing
Mhm.
RPG kind of games. That's what they're kind of known for. So excited to see more of that when that comes out.
Mhm.
In 2018, Xbox also acquired Ninja Theory, which up until then, I think their biggest game was Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. That was. You think so?
I don't know. I mean, I know that it wasn't super well received by a lot of people, but DMC was probably their biggest game up to that point.
Yeah, that's true. DMC was probably, that was also critically panned at the start. I think that was like the flip of Bioshock Infinite, where it was panned at the start, and now people are kind of coming back to me like, oh, the systems in this aren't bad.
Yeah.
But I guess in Xbox is that.
Well, I was just saying, one of the funny things about like Hellblade is like that was a small game. It's a very short game. It's a very weird game. Not a mass appeal game, I would say. And now they're marketing it like one. I'm like, oh no, what are you doing?
I guess I say that only because Xbox definitely bought them for Hellblade. Like that's the vibe I get, right? Is they're like, we want a sequel.
It was the game that showed us what the current next gen was, what our current gen is. It's still not out, but that's what introduced us to it.
Yeah, Hellblade 2 is. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited for it. Yeah,
it looks cool as hell.
But we still don't know when that's coming.
Hellblade 2 is kind of like all of those times that we've gotten shown like really cool tech demos, and they're like, "Oh, but this is a tech demo. We're not actually making this into the game." But this is like
showing off stupid fucking engines.
Yeah. but this is like, okay, so but this time we are actually making a game to go with it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We are.
Because seriously, that when they did the live rendered performance at like the Game Awards stage, like or wherever way back
pretty
when,
fucking great.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
It is very strange that like they showed off how far they were in everything, or at least in terms of characters and rigging and mocap performances. And it's now like 6 years later and nothing. Well, we've gotten a few more trailers.
Yeah, got a couple trailers, one gameplay sequence.
Yeah, it is a lot of trailers though. You know what I mean? It's like it's been a while. I mean, for being a sequel to a AA like 6-hour experience, it feels like a long.
So, but like if you look at it, well, I know we might be jumping ahead a little bit in the timeline in a way, but if you think about what they showed of that initial reveal of Hellblade, which was the first time we saw next gen stuff at that time, has anything Microsoft done really touched that feel? Like, holy fuck, like this is really next gen?
Halo Infinite.
Has anything anyone has done truly hit like that feel of next gen for you guys?
God of War, Ragnarok.
I'd say, Ragnarok in a way. Weirdly, it's not a next gen game, but Last of Us Part 2 did. It still looks better than most fucking games.
It does look pretty good.
I mean, Ragnarok as well is a PS4 game.
It is, yeah.
So
actually, I think the first time, and I know this is also a PS4 game, but like the PS5 stuff that they did on Horizon Forbidden West, there's certain stuff in that it's like, fuck, that's crazy. What the fidelity they were able to get out of it. So there's some, but I think out of the Xbox day, like can't think of anything that quite touches the like, oh my god, look at how crazy that looks.
Yeah, I mean, Forza Horizon 5 looks really good. But
it always feels weird to bring up like the Forza games because they always look fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, well, racing games in general always look like, for whatever time they release in, they always look really,
they're always
really
like
good.
top of the line.
Yeah. But
so I mean, what I'm getting at is I think they made the right choice in terms of wanting to get people hyped up for the next gen of their stuff. And it was probably the only like one that like, oh shit, this is the only one we're actually developing for next gen, for this gen.
Yeah.
not that was already doing it split between them.
Right. Well, I mean, because aside from Hellblade 2, I think Ninja Theory worked on Bleeding Edge, which was like that super forgettable kind of multiplayer game that
they tried to make bigger but didn't work.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this, but they also made that PlayStation 3 launch title, Heavenly Sword, before their acquisition, which I found very funny. Because that's just one of those, like, I always think of that as like the quintessential PS3 launch title. I don't know why, but it just has that energy to it, you know. But yeah, Ninja Theory, Hellblade 2. We'll see it when we see it. Stretch, are you confused? Are you okay? What's your face?
I just, for some reason, I've got like deep core memories in my brain of like the characters from the OC playing Heavenly Blade in like cutaway shots, and I don't know why that memory is coming to my head. I never played PS3. I didn't own a PS3, and for some reason in my mind, I'm just like, yeah, I remember the guy who played Seth, who's now like one of the Shazam actors. Just like, I just for some reason recognize this character as him playing it on the TV, and I'm just like not sure if that's my brain making shit up or whether that's some weird that's some
dream.
weird callback that my brain is making.
I feel like you're having a fever dream, Stretch. We're bringing you back to the real world.
You're in Florida right now. It's July of 2023.
I feel like reminding him he's in Florida isn't helping.
Oh,
no,
that's probably why he's retreating.
Yeah. The last big thing out of that 2018 press conference they did at E3 is they announced the initiative, which we touched on a little bit earlier. They're the ones making the quadruple A Perfect Dark video game.
That's a big game.
It's a big game. It's led by Daryl Gallagher from Crystal Dynamics. They're making quadruple A game.
Crystal Dynamics is the Tomb Raider folks.
Yeah. And the Marvel's Avengers folks.
Yeah. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. But this feels like Xbox's biggest swing in terms of like, me, just in terms of being like, yeah, we're inventing quadruple A. We're tacking another A on there.
It's interesting with like you talked brought up Perfect Dark. What was the sequel's name again? I always forget.
Perfect Dark Zero.
Perfect Dark Zero. It's interesting that Perfect Dark's one, because Perfect Dark, the original one, is a soft spot for a lot of people. Like, it's a very monumental game for shooters on consoles. But it has had nothing worthy of note since then, and that's like old as fuck. So it's really funny that that's the like name that they're banking on. And I realize like they're not expecting just to be like, oh man, Perfect Dark name's gonna sell it. Like whatever they're gonna show, it's gotta be fucking cool.
Yeah.
Or for their sakes. But it's just funny that that's the one to latch on to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of know that they're gonna fuck the landing though, right?
Hey, we don't know anything about this dev team.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you never know. It could be the next Naughty Dog or something. You don't know. They could be the Naughty Dog
themselves up like Icarus flying towards the sun. It seems weird for them to have, like, we got a CG trailer, like didn't even show anything. It just like showed a building or something, right? We got a CG trailer 5 years ago. We've seen nothing more, but hear them talk about how this is giving me big Dwayne The Rock Johnson, like this is gonna change the power structure in the DC universe energy with all of this like overhype.
This is Black Adam. No.
I mean, it's making me think like, I think between Xbox and PlayStation, right? I think historically in the past generation, Sony's been the one that's been a bit more arrogant or cocky, right? 100%. That's been their vibe.
They're Apple.
But even with like them saying God of War Ragnarok, state of the art, The Last of Us Part 2, state of the art video game, they've never said the phrase quadruple A video game.
Yeah.
No.
So that like this feels like Xbox weirdly being cocky because it sets up this like an expectation that no one knows what to expect from except for more. That's all you're thinking of. It's just like it's gonna be whatever AAA is. It's like, more.
I don't want more. I want like all the discourse lately, or not lately, but one of the big discourses lately among game journalism world has been like, let's just make like smaller games. I don't need to play a game for 50 hours anymore. On some of these, just too much stuff.
Yeah,
I'm just like, there's gonna be all of like the quadruple A Lamau game fucking sucks jokes hitting Twitter.
I can't wait.
Probably
at that point, hitting what? Maybe Blue Sky or Threads if Twitter's still alive.
Who knows? Twitter won't be around.
Yeah.
Twitter might not be around by the time this comes out.
Maybe. E3 2019, Xbox announced that they acquired Double Fine. You might know them from Psychonauts. Yeah, Brutal Legends, Broken Age. And then after the acquisition, the next thing they released was Psychonauts 2, which did come out on all platforms, which I kind of forgot about because that was one of those, like, it's on Game Pass. Just get it on Game Pass.
Why would you get it and it was long in development before. Mm-hmm. And it was a crowdfunded and invested game where like they were committed to those platforms. Regardless, I think Microsoft was going to do it anyway. Yes. But they had to do that anyway. If that's that Psych Odyssey thing that Double Fine has on their YouTube, the documentary of them making Psychonauts 2, phenomenal. We've talked about it before on the podcast, but if you're at all interested in how games are made, watch it because it gets you some information. And like Tim Schafer's just a funny fucking dude, and so are a lot of the other devs. Like, who knew it? Like, he'd be surrounding himself with people that are also like pretty fucking quirky and weird and funny. Mm-hmm. That's fascinating because then they show the process of like how them coming to Microsoft and that happening.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And then him behind the scenes at going into E3 to announce it and stuff. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah. Well, after Psychonauts 2, I don't think
we don't know what they're doing now.
Yeah, and Double Fine is so weird that it's like we really don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
People are rumoring or wanting a Brutal Legends 2. They're like, it's the perfect time.
I love a Brutal Legends.
It's the perfect time. Like, Jack Black is just, not that he's ever not popular, but he's really like on the top of the world right now, going up.
I mean, yeah, he's currently hyping up whatever the fuck is happening with Red Dead Redemption.
Or he might just like it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was wasn't it in his gamer song? It was part of it.
Well, then he released a clip on social media of him like trotting towards the camera with a Red Dead Redemption t-shirt. Or like it was a t-shirt that said like remake or something, and it was definitely the Red Dead font.
Yeah.
It's just like something's going on.
Maybe he's just wanting it.
Yeah, he's manifesting it. Yeah. But Double Fine is going to be, I think they're going to be the quirky, weird voice in the Xbox stable for a while. You know what I mean? Like if you played Psychonauts 2, I mean, man, I hope you don't have like a fear of dentists, because that game is just like, it just starts out like, yeah, you're going to jump on some teeth.
Yeah.
What if Double Fine does a Sergeant Johnson game in the Halo universe?
Maybe. That's interesting though that we haven't really seen too much of that, right? Like swapping around IP from under studios. I mean, I guess like the Initiative taking Perfect Dark from Rare, but like,
but also like they took a game they haven't worked on in forever.
Yeah, exactly. And then also in E3 2019, they announced that they had established, I think at the time they didn't have the name for it, but eventually it became World's Edge, which is just a studio / conglomerate thing that overlooks the Age of Empires franchise. So they've been primarily responsible for Age of Empires 4, those recent HD remasters of 2 and 3. And they're currently working on Age of Mythology Retold, which is just a remake of Age of Mythology.
Fair.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they're just, it's their strategy game arm, and I think they helped out with like Halo Wars, I want to say, maybe, or no, probably not.
They weren't around for Halo Wars.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Xbox's strategy game section, and you can play Age of Empires on Xbox now. Like it's like on the console, which is pretty cool. And then at the end of 2019, by this point, Xbox has 15 studios under their belt, and Matt Booty said they're shifting away from acquisitions.
Yeah.
In 2021, they acquired ZeniMax Media for $7.5 billion.
Wow. But, dude, that was one of the cool things that came out of those documents. What a fucking baller move.
Yeah.
I was like, we'll just buy them then.
Yeah.
Oh, Sony wants to make this exclusive. They're trying to. Oh, fuck that. We're buying the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for Starfield, right? Because Sony was trying to make Starfield a PlayStation exclusive. Which, come on, you really think that like fucking Todd Howard would take it away from the PC gamers, take it away from the modding community?
Yeah. I mean, big enough check, probably.
But someone has to fix all the bugs. It's not going to be Bethesda.
Not Todd. Yeah.
It's going to be the modders, so there's no way they're taking it away from that. But yeah, ZeniMax Media, I mean, the big name under there is probably Bethesda, right? But there's a lot of other studios that are involved in this. But this was the first one where regulators had to come in to like okay it, right? Because the intention to acquire it was in 2020. That was when they announced it. But it didn't actually go through until 2021 after big governmental regulation kind of looked at it and were like, okay, this is okay. This won't be a monopoly, which is very reminiscent of what's happening nowadays with the Activision-Blizzard acquisition, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just at a smaller scale, as you know. $7.5 billion was groundbreaking.
Yeah, twice what Disney paid for Star Wars. Star Wars is just good benchmark because of what an absurd deal Disney got on that. Mm-hmm. Like if I don't know anything about marketing anything, but I could have made the money back very easily off of Star Wars, and I know nothing.
Yep. But yeah, Bethesda's the big one under ZeniMax. I'd say they're known for Skyrim and Skyrim remaster,
Skyrim for your Alexa,
Skyrim special collector edition,
the legendary edition.
Yeah, and they make other stuff too. We're just joking a bit, but then now they're working on Starfield. That's their big one. If you missed it, there's a 50-minute presentation from last month about Starfield. Just give you the whole lowdown on
a lot of it.
Collecting sandwiches in space. That's arguably, I would say, Xbox as a whole. That's their next big like make or break moment, or like at least in terms of like a game.
Yeah. They haven't really, and that's one of the points I want to make later. They haven't really had their like runaway hit in a long time. So
Halo Infinite didn't do it for you.
Have you seen the like Steam? I know Steam's not probably the primary place people play. Have you seen the Steam player count for that thing?
Nope.
It's very sad. Very sad number.
But yeah, Starfield's probably that big one for Xbox. A lot of chips on that spaceship. Arcane, they're known for Dishonored. They did that Prey reboot, and then they did Deathloop, which was that one of those weird ones where like it was released after the acquisition, but it was contractually obligated to be a PlayStation exclusive, so it was an exclusive for a while, and now it's on Game Pass because it is an Xbox studio. Yeah. And they're currently working on who knows what because Redfall came out very recently, and they're
currently working on a 60 FPS patch.
Yeah, you need to drop that shit right now and move on. Drop it like it's Woody and Buzz Lightyear. You need a Buzz Lightyear, man.
Yeah, because Redfall, man, that really just like came and went. That thing was just a rough release.
It was sent out to die.
Yeah.
100%.
So, and it does feel like kind of a fall from grace, right, for Arcane, because their games are pretty solidly well made. Even if like Deathloop isn't quite your jam, it's pretty like mechanically sound video game. But
even for the issues that people had with Redfall, I was still seeing compliments about like the world building and the story and the like. It was still a pretty detailed Arcane world, but the way that you traversed it and the way that you moved through that world was not fun.
Yeah.
So, there are some times that game studios will totally pivot on what their bread and butter is, and they will do a pretty good job with it. We're probably we're coming up to talking about Tango Gameworks soon. I think that's probably one of the better examples of that in recent years. But this is just a situation where Arcane does a thing, and definitely don't want to pigeonhole them, but whatever Redfall wasn't playing to their strong suits.
No. And I think if we do see anything from Arcane, we probably won't for at least 2-3 years, right? Because if Redfall just came out, who knows? But Arcane does have multiple studios around the world, right? Because it was Arcane Lyon that made Redfall primarily. So who knows?
We'll see.
I would love to see a Dishonored, but
It's been a while.
It's been a while,
Been
but
a
you know,
while.
we'll see what Arcane
You know
does
what's funny
next.
about Dishonored? I bought the Dishonored 2 Collector's Edition when it came out.
Never
Haven't
played it. It's
Still haven't played it.
pretty good. It's pretty good. You know,
I know.
whenever you have,
It's not that I don't want to. I just haven't.
yeah, I know you have a ton of free time. So when
Super
next time you know
ton.
you sit down to play
All
a game,
I do is play games.
yeah. id Software, probably one of the
What
oldest.
do they do?
Quake.
Someone people just got mad. No, they might be. I wonder about that's interesting. They're probably one of the most old school fucking devs out there. Names still
Founded
going.
in 1991.
91, yeah. I mean,
they've been around.
especially for like Western devs, like it's them and like NetherRealm. They've been around a really long time.
Bethesda's been around, not too much. Wasn't too much longer after that. Blizzard is probably right in there.
Yeah,
right around that time.
But id Software, they're known for Doom. They made. If you played a first-person shooter, you owe something to id. There's
a lot to them. Yeah,
yeah. They did Doom. They did Wolfenstein. They did, what was that game? Rage. That very brown
Rage
shooter.
Rage 2.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, Rage 2 is a very pink shooter. And then Doom Eternal, Doom 2016.
Yeah, the Doom reboot is like the coolest fucking thing.
It's a masterclass in just arcade shooter shit.
It's so good.
And now we don't know what they're working on.
I mean, it's whatever Doom.
Probably Doom.
Whatever their Doom is.
Doom Infinite.
They already did Eternal. Isn't that the same?
Yeah.
What's after Eternal?
Infinite.
Doom deity. Doom guy's a god now.
That's the full name of it.
Doom Ascension, and it's where Doom guy ascends.
They could do a prequel series. Just call it Doomed.
I see. Because I think wasn't there also that story of like it has helped out with Bethesda. They've helped them with like
rework the shooting on Starfield.
Yeah. So
thank God.
Yeah, that's a great plan.
That first showing of Starfield, not so good. Not at all.
Yeah, but so much like Arcane id right now, like the future of it is kind of an unknown quantity. I mean, I guess not quite like Arcane.
They're going to be doing shooting and shoot.
You're gonna have a gun of some kind, probably.
Will it talk to you?
Maybe
we don't talk about that game.
Yeah. Machine Games, they're known for the new age Wolfenstein games like New Colossus, and
phenomenal.
They are really
phenomenal.
And such fun stories too. And BJ is so fucking good.
Such good. Yeah.
In those games.
Wolfenstein 2, like the fucking Hitler, the way they handle Hitler in that. One of the best things in games.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't played the new Wolfenstein games, 100% recommend. They're very fun.
So much fun. They're batshit nuts. Boy, don't play the like whatever that co-op one was.
Youngblood.
Ooh, don't do that one.
But the Wolfenstein New Order, Wolfenstein New Colossus. Yes.
I think it's Wolfenstein 2 Colossus, isn't it?
Is the first one called the New Order? What? I forget exactly.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
But they're pretty good. And they're currently working on an Indiana Jones game of some kind, which is a very out of left field. Like not quite
a wild thing, to see.
But they both did fight Nazis, so
it's true. He is a Nazi hating motherfucker.
Yes,
Mr. Jones.
Yeah,
which continues. I just saw the new movie. Spoiler: he hates Nazis still.
Wow,
he's a big Nazi hater still.
Man.
It's good to have such a relatable main character on screen.
Yeah. I look at that and I'm like, I can't relate to the lasso, but I can relate to the Nazi hating. So I'll live with it. Or the whip. Sorry, not the lasso. He's not a cowboy. But Wolfenstein 3 is also something that is on the horizon. They were working on it, but I would not expect it anytime soon. I think Indiana Jones is probably the next big thing to come from Machine Games. I think that's the one that's like really hotly, like everyone's kind of curious about what it is, just because Indiana Jones video game just hasn't really been that big, despite being such a big brand, right? A big franchise that people know. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what Machine Games does.
Yes.
Yep. And then Stretch, you mentioned earlier, Tango Gameworks.
Yeah.
They're known for Evil Within, and then Ghostwire Tokyo, which was the same as Deathloop, right? The whole PlayStation exclusive, despite the acquisition, et cetera. And then they're probably most recently known for just shadow dropping Hi-Fi Rush out of nowhere, which is a fantastic little action game. Action music, you fight to the beat. It's pretty good stuff. 9 Inch Nails is on the soundtrack, and the way they use the perfect drug is fucking rad. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Who knows what they're working on now? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those studios, right, where it's like you were saying earlier, Stretch, like the pivot was so real, and now it's kind of like, well, I don't know what they'll do next.
And I mean, I think that there was some dialogue around the time to kind of say like, well, we're planning on doing Hi-Fi Rush just as a small thing while we're also working on other stuff. So it might be that, they've scratched that itch. They've got something else out in the meantime. But I wouldn't be surprised if Tango themselves took this as, a plan going forward to like have some smaller thing on the back burner for when they need it, or if Xbox is as a whole going to look at that and say, well, while we've got our 7-year game dev cycle titles going on, where can we be applying resources to get out smaller, consistent hits?
Yeah. Because I would love to see more of all these studios we've talked about. I would love to see more of them just create something smaller and just shadow drop it. I feel like that is something Xbox can really own in this space, especially because of Game Pass, right? Like they can really own that idea of like, and you can play it today. Like you've heard about it today and you can play it today.
Like do what Netflix does, but make it actually good.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Exactly. Like imagine id, they make something like a really weird off the wall short experience and it's like play it right now on Game Pass. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll check that out. Yeah. And then there's ZeniMax Online Studios. Elder Scrolls Online is their main bread and butter. It's an MMO, so you kind of get the deal there, right? Expansions every couple years.
Well, it's still chugging along, so
yeah.
I mean
Necrom came out just last month, so yeah, still going strong. Roundhouse Studios, which was formerly known as Human Head Studios, and they closed and then reopened under Bethesda in 2019 as Roundhouse.
I would have got rid of that fucking name too.
Human Head Studios, yeah,
not because of the name, but because of what's associated with
The Quiet Man. The Quiet Man. Yes, that's right. The studio that made The Quiet Man is under Microsoft right now.
No, bad. The Quiet Man.
The Quiet Man. Yeah.
The game's so bad that they tried to then be like, no, man, it's like The Room. It's so bad. We can do that. And everybody's like, nah, it's just sucks.
And then you get to replay it in black and white. Wasn't that like a thing as well?
Well, then you could play the loud man. You could play with sound.
Right. Yeah. Because it was first you had to play it without sound. And then you could unlock the sound version, which,
which
interesting.
We reviewed both. And I think the quiet version was considered better.
Jesus.
And they're working on some unannounced game now as Roundhouse Studios. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Just lean into it and make like the Nightman from It's Always Sunny and just do that.
God, that would be rated like what's the NC-17 for games? Adults only.
Yeah. It would be wild. Just do it a very faithful 1-to-1 of that story. A troll getting in that boy's hole.
And then the last small studio here under ZeniMax, Alpha Dog Games. They do a lot of mobile games, and they recently released Mighty Doom, which I've been seeing a lot of ads for on my Google Play Store. I have not played it, but it is a mobile game starring the Doom Slayer from Doom.
Woo!
That's all I got. And that's it on all of the currently, as of the time of recording, as of potentially the time of you hearing this on Monday, July 17, potentially all of the studios under Xbox's umbrella.
Why do you keep saying potentially, Robert?
I don't know. Y'all heard of Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all the studios under Activision-Blizzard that may or may not be Microsoft owned by the time you're hearing this.
Well, I mean, the deal's not going to go through that quickly, but the sentiment for it might be that, like, we understand that it's a done deal at that point.
Right.
But I mean, it more or less is a done deal. We can just consider it's done. They're going to own them. Call of Duty is going to be part of Xbox. World of Warcraft is going to be part of Xbox.
Diablo.
StarCraft, Diablo.
Overwatch.
Yeah.
All those King games.
Crash Bandicoot.
The best.
Spyro.
Yeah. All of those will be under
bunch of
Activision or under Microsoft.
Which is crazy. If they make the WoW subscription part of Game Pass, WoW is going to get quite the surge of people coming back to it.
I forget. There's no
guaranteed.
console. There's no console version of WoW, right? It's like only PC.
No, correct.
But I wonder if after,
good fucking luck, dude. That game. I don't know.
I mean, they
That's
made
really
it
hard to do now.
Final Fantasy 14 on.
Well, there are mods and add-ons people made for WoW where you can play it with a controller. That has been around a while, but I don't know. That's we'll see. But like just that, like, would be nuts. And having all Call of Duty on there. I mean, we all know how big that would be. I'd be pumped because I haven't played all the expansions, and I'm not paying $60 to pay a fucking expansion. Because Activision treats their games like Nintendo, where they're always full price.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what it's going to mean with Call of Duty, right? Because Warzone's free. There's like the Battle Pass or whatever, but if you have Game Pass, who knows, right? But yeah, so we won't go through all of the Activision Blizzard studios just because I mean, like, you've probably heard that phrase Activision Blizzard so many times in the past year that it's like exhausting.
FTC. Yeah. No, never again.
Yeah. But I think just it's joining the staple that we've just gone through for the past like hour or so, right? Of all these games. Yeah. And Call of Duty, I think, is still, I mean, we were talking earlier, like Minecraft is probably the biggest acquisition or that Microsoft has made. I feel like Call of Duty is one. It depends on how Microsoft plays with Call of Duty from here on out, but I could see that also being potentially pretty big. Yeah. To rival Minecraft, I'm not sure, but also Call of Duty releases a new game every year. It's not like the one.
Yeah, I think what I was kind of getting at with Minecraft really, the biggest thing is the ROI on effort and time.
Yeah.
Call of Duty takes a lot of time and effort to make a game every year. Like the schedule's pretty nuts. Where Minecraft's like, we have butterflies now, and everybody's like, fucking yes. I'm going back. I'm in, or whatever. Like,
but wait for the Warzone butterfly update coming July 2024.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Minecraft Steve will be in Warzone.
And he was already in Smash Bros.
Yeah.
Dude, could you imagine that skin?
I would love it.
Yeah,
a yoked out fucking. Or do you think they would just make it a really high res? Blocky Steve.
I want it to be a high res blocky. Like I want it to be like, even if you're behind cover, people will see the corner of your head,
poking out.
Yeah, I really want that.
Hitbox is perfectly to your body, so you're just getting fucking domed all the time.
It's playing the game on hard mode. Yeah. Stretch, did you have anything you want to talk about here with Microsoft?
Yeah, I mean, it's really crazy having all of that laid out and like talking through it. It's it is a lot. It's a ridiculous amount. We've just spent like literally 80 minutes just chatting through.
Yeah.
And we've only been barely touching a lot of these.
There's a lot of other stuff, yeah.
But it is still so crazy to look at all of this to see how much we have known about for so long, and we still don't know about and haven't known about for so long. Like so many of those things from 2018 were like, well, we'll hear about them at some point, or like they'll release at some point. But in terms of where Xbox is angling themselves after the shit show that was the Xbox One launch that they have still not recovered from, You know, Phil Spencer released a really fascinating quote not too long ago, where he admitted that like Xbox lost the worst generation to lose, where everybody started building their digital library, and that, you know, there's so much. When we were talking about Rare, to think like, oh, Rare is associated with Perfect Dark and GoldenEye and this and that, and to think that the competitors over on the PlayStation side were Spyro, Crash, you know, 40 Winks, Croc, whatever, for there to be like so much difference going on. And now as systems have just become powerful PCs, everything is getting locked together. And yeah, to lose that install base where it's not like, oh, you have a Super Nintendo and the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation come out, where are you starting from scratch? Because you have to start from scratch. Right. Now it's, where is your install base? Where do you constantly have people? And with so much going on, so many games getting published, such an aggressive push for Game Pass, you know, Xbox is kind of making themselves not the place to play the best games, but the place to play a lot of games. Mm-hmm. And Game Pass does a lot to help that start from scratch feeling that a PlayStation gamer or a Nintendo Switch gamer can get their Xbox, get 3 months of Game Pass, and boom, your install library that you have available to you is now 466 games.
Yep. Yeah, I think it is interesting to see that they lost, quote unquote, lost that really important generation. But I think Xbox's solution, which is we'll bring the library to you for the low price of $10 a month, is a really smart solution to that problem.
Yes, very much.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox Game Pass has become like it's become that thing on my bank account that Netflix is. That it's like, I might not use it at all this month, but I don't care enough to remove it.
Right.
And like, you know, I definitely say that from a lucky place in life, that I'm not having to like look at that and cut costs and stuff. Mm. But yeah, like that's just going to be a fee that sits on my bank account.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think when you see the PlayStation Plus fee in your bank? Do you think about that one in the same way?
I'm too busy trying to sift through all of my $0, 0 cent thank you for purchase PlayStation Plus emails.
Fair.
No, I mean, it's for, you know, I didn't have a PlayStation 3. I had a PlayStation 4 near the end of the life cycle. The big draw for me for the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation Plus and Plus and Plus was the retro content. And as I, you know, or as anyone could have rightfully predicted, and I know that we spoke about this on the podcast, they've done fuck all with the retro library.
Yeah, a bit.
That kind of doesn't ingratiate people to those higher tiers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, so on our notes doc here, I also see you've put a lot of OpenCritic scores.
I have for Microsoft games,
yes.
Not just first-party games, but like some that they published, some that are Xbox only / PC. And I started as just an exercise, like, let's just look through some games, and I had a theory going into it that I was correct in the way I read this. And that it's an interesting point about you saying that Game Pass being a good solution, how they quote unquote lost the last generation, is just getting good games on there. So I just made a quick list of the best well-received games on Xbox that are Xbox exclusive / PC. You know, they might be on PC, but they're not on PlayStation or anything. And then I made a separate list that's just their high-profile stuff. Like, here's the stuff that they really marketed highly. And there's not a lot of crossover on these lists. I'm going to say Forza is like the one big one that keeps crossing over, and those always review pretty well across the board, but they're a lot more niche games. It's even Forza Horizon is relatively niche game. It's not as broadly like in terms of racing games. It's pretty big up there, but like a tier 2 below a kart game like Mario Kart, but it's still pretty big. But if you look at their well-received games since, I guess I should change that. Since the Xbox One released, it's if we start when Xbox One released, you got your Forza game, you got Ori, which is an indie game, small game, another Forza. Halo 5, which reviewed pretty all right, but people don't look back on it very fondly. The multiplayer eventually got there. People did like that towards the end. Quite a few people, but the player base is still gone. Weird story. Never heard that one before. You won't hear that one again. Another Forza game, Gears of War 4 reviewed okay. Cuphead, indie game. Another Forza game, another indie game. Wander Song, another Forza Gears game, another Ori game. Flight Sim coming out of nowhere. Death's Door, small game. Yeah. Psychonauts 2, relatively small game, which really wasn't made by Microsoft. They just published right at the very end.
Right.
Another Forza game. Halo Infinite swooped in there that reviewed pretty well, but it's like another one of those like asterisks. You're like, boy, like yes, it reviewed well, but man,
it's like
not what they wanted.
Yeah,
it would be like it did all right, but like they would really want it to be much bigger than it currently is.
100%.
And then you got Tunic, another small game, indie game,
awful game,
phenomenal game, phenomenal game,
so fucking good.
One of the coolest games that's come out in recent years.
Truly incredible.
And then you got Pentiment, which is a very niche game. Not a lot of people are going to be into that game.
Yeah, dude, I can't read, so that game is just not for me. I am illiterate.
Well, there's that, and then Hi-Fi Rush was the last really highly reviewed game.
Right.
From them, and the theme to that, aside from Forza, to me, is that's a lot of small games, a lot of indie titles, a lot of smaller budget kind of stuff. None of their heavy hitters are on there, except like Halo's gets reviewed relatively well, but it's definitely not like they expect it to be like really, really big, not just like okay, that was pretty good.
Right. Because when you compare this to like what you think of Sony, right, with their big hitters, like all their big names,
constantly in the game of the year discussion every year,
constantly like at least a 90 on OpenCritic,
getting around there,
89 to 90, right, like at least.
Nothing on here is the regularity of any of the Naughty Dog studio stuff or the God of War games or like that kind of thing,
right?
Not quite.
And a lot of these are like you said, smaller studios, but also like studios that aren't owned by Xbox or anything like that, right? They just
several of these, are not.
Like Cuphead, that's Studio MD, whatever.
MDHR.
They're not.
They're not.
An Xbox.
Tunic's not.
Ori, that's
is
not.
Ori owned by them? I don't think so.
Yeah, Ori is, I believe.
Is it?
Maybe it is now. Who does it? Look that up. I don't know. Look it up, man.
Ori, published by Microsoft Studios.
Yeah, it was published.
Developed by Moon Studios, an Austrian indie video game developer.
So I mean, but they've, as far as I know, that's their two big things, and they've been Xbox games.
Yeah,
very well received games, good platformers. So that's they're really well. And what's funny about like looking at these, how many break the 90s? Forza Horizon 5, Microsoft Flight Sim, Ori in the Will of the Wisp was the second one. Forza Horizon 4. Forza Horizon 3. So those are Forza games.
And Ori and the Blind Forest. So what we're saying here is objectively, Forza Horizon is the greatest Xbox franchise.
I mean, if you're looking for like consistent high quality, no question.
And I'm not memeing here. I fucking love Forza Horizon. Yeah, okay, so to me now, a McLaren is the new Master Chief of, like that's the new face of Sony. Or of Xbox and Sony, fuck Gran Turismo. But no, of Xbox. To me, it's like Forza is it.
But the point I want to make of that is in contrast to what I would consider their high-profile games I just listed here, which are we'll start at the beginning. So none of their launch titles were all that well received. Killer Instinct, a 77 for a fighting game, might as well be fucking dog shit in the fighting game world. All the good fighting games get like 90 something.
There's still definitely grassroots love for KI.
Yeah.
People, every single fucking year, people like this is going to be it. We're going to get the new KI announcement.
Yeah, people like it, but it's definitely not quite with like any of the like Street Fighters or Tekkens or Mortal Kombat or anything that Arc System does.
Right.
Kind of level. But that was a launch title for Xbox One. Rise Son of Rome, not reviewed very well. 64 average on there. Forza Motorsport 5, 80. Probably the lowest Forza that I saw. Not a super well liked Forza game for launch. And then Dead Rising 3 came out as a 78. Not so great. But then Forza Horizon 2 comes in. Forza Horizon comes in to save the day. The 88 on there. And then there's a couple stuff that I forgot about, like Project Spark. Remember that game?
No, I really don't.
It's Conquer.
Well, it had Conquer many years in, but I mean, I think that when you have those games where like the entire game is about giving tools to people, like Minecraft, like Dreams.
It's kind of like Dreams. It's kind of like a Little Big Planet game.
Make or break on the community, and there just wasn't the community for Project Spark.
There. No. Sunset Overdrive came out, not super highly received. I think it's gotten a lot of love in recent years, though. People have been like, you know what, that was overlooked. People I think got it wrong.
And I enjoyed Overdrive.
And it's one of those few like, really, an Insomniac game on Xbox? Yeah, all right.
Insomniac did it. If people don't know, Insomniac did Ratchet and Clank, and now they do the Spider-Man games.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10.
I mean, like it got about 83. So I mean, it's not awful by any means.
Yeah.
But there's that. Then Motorsport 6 comes in, Halo 5. Remember Quantum Break?
Woof.
I really enjoyed that one.
Quantum Break, and then they even had a TV show. That did not review well. 78.
Yeah.
That had
Record?
Lance Reddick in it, right?
I think it did.
Quantum Break have it? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
While he's looking that up, remember Record? Remember that one?
Yeah, wasn't that the Mega Man guy? Keiji Inafune was behind it. Yeah.
So everybody was like, yeah, but they're also like, I don't know, Mighty Number 9.
Yeah, Lance Reddick was in it. It also had Aidan Gillen during the height of Game of Thrones love and Sean Ashmore.
And even with all that, it was still Quantum Break.
And another big one there, Halo Wars 2, not super well reviewed.
That's a tactics game.
Yeah. Sea of Thieves came out. Sea of Thieves is an asterisk in the other direction in terms of when it first came out, not liked. But it's definitely turned itself righted the ship, you might say, of their game.
matey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly surprised, like 67 on OpenCritic, because like I'm thinking of it now, and I'm like, it's not like now. It's definitely not a 67 on OpenCritic game.
No, not at all. It definitely belongs in that like probably mid 80s.
That's also something just wild in general about reviews, and especially in this digital age where everything can have stuff added to it. Everything could be quote unquote fixed. We've got a slew of games that had shit launches that now people like collectively know are like meant to be really good games. Most famously No Man's Sky. But I'm sure that a whole lot of people will still remember their pretty poor first experience and will just not worry about touching it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that I use this for is these aren't objective numbers at all, but they're like very good like reference points, starting points.
Yeah.
For like where roughly a game's gonna land. Like you can disagree with the score you want, but like usually that collective thing is probably in the realm of where something is. It's never that far off, like crazy off. In the end. So that's kind of why I used it. We can disagree about these all we want, but so Sea of Thieves not reviewed very well when it came out. Neither was State of Decay 2. Neither was State of Decay 1, which came out before Xbox One.
Yeah, or Crackdown 3.
Remember Crackdown 3?
Woof. I did not realize how low that score was either.
63.
Yeah.
That was this is why I'm worried about stuff going on with like the quadruple A.
Yeah.
When they were hyping up Crackdown 3 in the multiplayer and how it would be powered by the cloud so that absolutely everything could be destructible and the cloud would do all of the measurements because you're online anyway. So why not let all of the processing be handled by our massive Azure servers, yada, yada. Yeah. And then the game came out like a wet fart.
Yes.
It's just,
That's even worse than that. It was bad. It was just straight up bad.
Yeah.
Bad game. But then there's a little bit of redemption with Gears 5 and then Forza Horizon 5. Forza Horizon always coming in to save the day.
Really
for
does.
Microsoft. They always get their high scores in there. And Halo Infinite comes out after, which you know the story on that.
Yeah.
Then, I mixed up. I put Bleeding Edge in the wrong spot. It came out before all this in 2020. But
Yeah. But Bleeding Edge.
not well reviewed at all. It was pretty I wouldn't say like super highly marketed, but it was up there. I mean, it was at E3 and stuff. Like it was they had booths, like stuff for it to play it, and they're definitely trying to push it as a big thing. It just didn't land at all. Hard pass by a lot of people. And of course, the most recent big notable game that didn't work out very well was Redfall.
Right.
And I was genuinely just looking for big games. I wasn't like, here's all the big failures. I was like, okay, what was the big budget stuff that they were really marketing? And man, have they had a lot of just really big swings and misses.
Yeah, I mean,
not saying that like Sony doesn't have them, but they definitely do not have them with this frequency.
Yeah, because like hearing you go through this list, right, of all like the big Xbox games of the past 10 years, about roughly, it's like, man, it is. You're right about how much like they put all this marketing into it. Because like I look at all these games, I'm like, I remember like the marketing hype and marketing cycle for all of this, and it all just comes out like not delivering on that promise. And not to say like, no one's perfect. No one has to come out with a perfect score every time. When your competitor is Sony, or they're batting like not 1,000, but like 999. You know what I mean?
They're doing pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder also as well, like we've just listed off between 2013 and 2020, we've just listed off
quite a few games here. I want to say that's like 20-ish.
2025. Like what's the rate of publishing with Sony?
I don't know. Yeah, definitely all what I listed are not first party developed Microsoft games.
Yeah,
right.
But I'm just kind of like thinking whether it might also just be that there is so much happening.
Could be. I mean, but I think Sony's been on a pretty consistent schedule of like 1 to 2 like pretty big bangers every year.
Yeah, for sure.
With some other stuff sprinkled in, like it says something when like the big people think joke about with Sony is Days Gone, and that's like a pretty normal received game by Xbox by comparison, and that's the one that everybody jokes about at Sony.
Like in terms of Sony Interactive Entertainment video games, published in 2020, they had Demon Souls, Sackboy, and Miles Morales. And Astro's Playroom.
Like all the launch titles, yeah.
2021 was Destruction All Star, MLB The Show, Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, Director's Cuts for Ghost of Tsushima and Death Stranding.
Yeah, the re-releases, right? Kind of.
Yeah, so that was the other thing I didn't include. There was a couple of collections. Like I didn't include the Master Chief collection on here. So those are just re-releases, and like the Rare Replay, which I know is very popular, very well received. But that's a bunch of fucking old games. Yeah, like that they knew were good already.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't include those, but those were things people liked a lot.
Honestly, I think my biggest takeaway here is Fable is now my new most anticipated video game. I've only played a little bit of Fable.
Guaranteed 90 to 92 range.
Look, Playground Games never misses, is what I'm here.
They never miss. They're by far the most consistent. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am replacing my most anticipated game to whatever it was 5 minutes ago to now Fable. Easy.
I remember watching the trailer and seeing Ayade there, and it was like, wow, this game fucking looks great. And like the Fable games have never looked incredible. They've had a very unique art style to them, but they haven't ever looked like incredible. Watching this, I'm like, man, this looks so fucking good. Wow, they're pouring a lot of money. Oh wait, no, it's of course it looks great. It's Forza Horizon. They know how to do fidelity.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think my biggest takeaway is that lately because a lot of these on the well-received list, a lot of the smaller ones are relatively newish. That Microsoft's been really good at picking winners as a curator, as in a sense, but they still haven't really quite figured out how to make their own games on a consistent basis. I think they've Playground. They've kind of like just been like, oh, thank God we have them. Don't protect them. Don't let them go anywhere.
Right.
Kind of thing. But I don't know. They got to figure something out, because there's been that like thing like someone mentioned, I think Robert, earlier, about how they really, when Spencer came in, they really did this whole hands off thing. They started with Minecraft. It's like, man, I don't know if that's working. Like, it works when it works. Minecraft doing their own thing, Playground doing all the Forza Horizon stuff's working, but it's like it feels like maybe you need a little bit more influence in there, a little more. And I mean, I say that as we really don't fucking know what kind of feedback Microsoft is giving, or Phil Spencer, Xbox, as an entity, is giving their first party studios. I'm sure they're not just like, if I can do whatever you want. Oh, cool. All right, I guess we'll release it. Like, I know it's not that,
Right?
For sure. But I really wonder if they're having discussions of being a little bit more involved, because so far it doesn't seem to be working all that well for their first party stuff this last decade.
I think Starfield is going to be that big test, right? To see, okay, like, I mean, I guess you have to wonder how hands off they were if they brought in id. I guess because they're both under the ZeniMax umbrella, so maybe
that's
ZeniMax
what makes
has just
it
been
starts
doing
making me
that.
think. I wonder if they've been making some shifts in that. And Starfield's always feels a little unfair, because like, man, it was so far along and well into development by the time they were purchased. Like, it'd been a minute.
Yeah.
I doubt there was that much massive change afterwards.
Right.
But
I mean, I guess the big tells might be then like Clockwork Revolution and South of Midnight. Like, these are games that we can only assume maybe like the preconception stages were before the acquisitions, but
I think the biggest tell is Hellblade 2, where that lands, with how much they've really put into it, and like use it as their tentpole, like, here we're showing off what our cool technology can do,
right,
kind of thing.
I think Hellblade's going to be a weird one, because especially that they've got some confusing marketing out around it, with that first demo to be like, oh, this is this big epic action thing.
No, it's not.
Really, the gameplay itself is so much slower than what someone might be expecting if someone's looking at it and being like, oh, this is going to be like The Last of Us.
Yeah, that's why I think it's a really good example of it, because I think that Microsoft has been very confusing up till now on what exactly the game is, and or overselling it.
Right.
And this is, I think, another example of that.
Do you wonder if maybe because that first trailer, that was the one that's very like action, right? Like, we're going to fight a giant thing. Do you feel like that's maybe a direct response to like how God of War became, like we were saying, the poster child of PlayStation, right? Or like, that's the Nordic action, big fight, throw your axe, right? Like, do you think this was Xbox being like, we got that too?
Maybe.
Look at me. Mom, look at me. Sure. Mom, look at me.
But yeah, between that, Clock Revolution, I think Avowed will be a big one for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there is no way that I can look at the words quadruple A perfect dark game on my screen and expect that they're going to land this. They had Halo. They delayed Halo a year, and they still didn't stick the landing. I don't know how they're going to do it with Perfect Dark.
I don't know.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's like they've acquired so many studios, and they're acquiring more, and it's like, boy, like, some of the studios you've acquired have made really great games, but a lot haven't.
Yes.
Since you bought them. And it's like, I'd almost just rather you guys just keep up this curation of like, oh, let me pick out some good shit, like as it's come along already, not that I'm helping make it, and then put it in my little Game Pass collection.
Put it in my $10 a month collection.
Let me just grab these. I don't watch making them so far. I'm like, boy, I don't know.
Yeah, because they do curate, like you said, they do curate pretty
They
well.
do really well.
Every
Even
month
like
they
small games like that. I'm like, oh shit, I never heard of that. Looks fucking cool as hell.
Yeah.
Like they pick out good stuff.
Yeah, literally, I just pulled up Game Pass to double check the numbers.
But you had to
'cause
pull
it's
it up. I
currently
thought you just kind of had that.
Own screen.
running tally. So it's 466 console games, but I just saw that the Arcade Paradise just got added to Game Pass, and now I'm like, oh, I think I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Yeah, that game's pretty fucking cool. I like that game a lot. So
and there's 442 PC games as well. Like,
yeah. I think my biggest takeaway, aside from Fable being my most anticipated game here, is I guess like I've always thought of Xbox, the brand, as like this big conglomerate with a lot of shit under it, but I've never really sat down and quantified how much stuff there is under Phil Spencer right now, right? And this is a lot of moving parts. You know, I think there's a lot we could like throw a dartboard at this Word doc we have, or like throw a dart at it and be like, okay, like
let's just throw the whole dartboard.
Throw the dartboard at my monitor. Let's just break it. But you throw a dart at it, and it's like all of these things could be the next like potentially big like moneymaker for Xbox, or at least a big like reputation changer. Yeah, that's the thing, is there's a lot of moving parts, and I guess I hadn't really seen all that before quantifying it like this. And I'm curious, like if we did the same thing for PlayStation, I'd be curious how that would measure up. And yeah, I think we should. We should down in the future for sure do like a big PlayStation overlook, and then maybe Nintendo at some point where it's like just Smash and Mario.
It would be interesting. Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, because what was it, 2017 when Spencer was really brought up into the executive level at Microsoft, where he reports directly to the CEO of Microsoft now.
Yeah, he got into the room.
That's when they were like, okay, Xbox is a big fucking deal. I think that was 2017. So really not that long ago.
Yeah.
And that's when like they went wild on the acquisitions after that. So we're in like, because of the development cycle of games, where they're not really seeing the fruits of that until kind of now.
Yeah. It's like we're simultaneously we are somehow simultaneously in the biggest, most incredible time of Xbox history, and its worst.
Yes.
Yeah.
Weird. It is a weird thing.
Yeah.
And I think, but it's an interesting thing, because like, do you think like if they continue the dominance that they had with like the 360, which eventually kind of swapped, PS3 took over at the end of the life, but forever Xbox like 360 was like on top by a lot for a while. Do you think that continued till now? Would Game Pass even exist? Would they even have to be thinking that way? Because that feels like an out of the box thought. Like you're saying, a solution to a problem that Phil obviously identified. I was like, oh shit, like we lost that. How do we bounce back in a way? And it's really good thinking.
Yeah, like what's the quote? Like, desperation's the mother of invention, or necessity, or
necessity is the mother of invention. That one, but
it feels like that. I think this is just a sign, right, of how much, like, we've been talking about Microsoft as a company, which we always do say too, like Microsoft is big. Like there's a reason they can drop $69 billion on a video game company and be like, whatever. And it's because they have that outside of Xbox. They've had Azure, they have Office, right? They have Windows. It's a lot of big stuff in the tech space that Microsoft does. But I think you make a good point there, Auden, about like how in 2017, Phil was like leadership exec level kind of stuff. In 2022, he became like CEO of Microsoft Gaming. You know what I mean? Like it's a really big part of Microsoft now. And I think it says a lot that the last time Microsoft was in a court debating monopolies, it was about the literal internet, like the browser that you use to get on the internet, which is now like so ubiquitous that you don't even think about the browser. You just like use it to get online, right?
There's all kinds of garbage around back then.
Yeah, but now it's like this is what they're back in the courts for games, right? And I'm not saying that like video games are the next Internet Explorer or whatever. Like that seems like a really weird amorphous thing to say, but at the very least, it's like Microsoft is very clearly thinking about games as a big forefront of their business. And it nestles in very well with Azure, right? Like being their big web server
We
process,
didn't even
right?
get into like the xCloud stuff or what's that going to be, because that's such a huge potential in the future.
Right.
Well, yeah, the concept of Xbox without needing the box is huge.
And having like tried out that Samsung gaming hub like on a TV, them having that infrastructure in place is massive because it worked super well already.
I still have yet to try it.
It's mind-blowingly simple. And like, I turn my controller on, I'm fucking playing Fortnite now or whatever in a second.
Yeah, or playing the greatest Xbox exclusive Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so once that becomes such an easy thing, we're like, because all these streaming services are now just built into every TV you buy now. Imagine I can just play any game on any TV. You know, that $250 TCL 55-inch thing I can buy at Walmart. Guess what? That's an Xbox now also.
Yeah. Xbox, no box required. Just the
a 4K TV with it streams 4K games for nothing.
Yeah, and this is all assuming, of course, you have good internet, right? Like that's kind of the caveat.
Unfortunately, the U.S. like internet fucking blows. Depends where you are, obviously. But
but even then, you know, we think about it is that, you know, the idea of streaming all of your content wasn't a thing. Like, you know, Netflix is so ubiquitous, but it was, you know, less than a decade ago that, you know, you would primarily be getting DVDs from them.
Right.
And now we're at a time where, you know, we get all of our content through streaming services or like through downloads, that, you know, another 15, 20 years, that the idea of a data plan, like data might be so easy to send around the internet that unlimited data on phone plans might just be a given. I know when I was growing up in Australia, you know, we had home internet data caps. And my father would consistently get fucking mad at me for blowing through them.
It's wild how quickly stuff moves. The thing I always like to point to, and obviously we're getting a little further away from it now, but the first iPhone was only in 2007. We're not even 20 years into that, and think of how much the world is different after that with smartphones. Yeah, like something catches on, things move super fucking quickly. And I think if that does happen with games, like that could be the primary way like most people play their games, because it is such a cheap and easy alternative.
Especially like, I don't know if you guys ever, like when you would like travel and stuff, you'd go to like a hotel and they might have like, oh, here's a weird like USB Nintendo 64 controller that's hooked up to the TV and you can play you know, 15 Nintendo games. What if the next time you go to the Hilton, you know, the TV just has Game Pass on it?
Well, the Wi-Fi won't work, so I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me.
That's true. Yeah, at Hilton specifically. Shout out to Hilton.
I don't know what you're talking about. The Wi-Fi just doesn't work there.
Sorry, I just picked a random hotel chain. But if you just the next time you go to a hotel, it's like, here's Game Pass. Like, sure.
Yeah.
And then
the next question, I think the next question, like this is just getting a little further into that, is like if I'm using the hotel's Netflix, my save file is, I just remember I'm on episode 3, season 4 of this show.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you just sign in.
Yeah, I guess, it just depends on if you can do the cloud service thing and like connect it all there. But
I mean, I could definitely see that. Like having now, like I said, tried that Samsung gaming hub with how seamlessly easy it was. If they can figure out a way to market it just to regular old whoever out there, maybe they don't necessarily know about games, but like Netflix was saying, and other game makers have been saying forever, like that's our competition is each other. I don't like games, yes, but also like I am fighting for your time from Netflix, from Hulu, from HBO Max, from YouTube, from whatever. Right. And to be able to get yourself on the same screen as like, oh, here's Xbox and here's Netflix. Oh, I'm gonna do Xbox, especially now that Netflix has a bunch of fun games that you can play, a bunch of really good games.
I mean, it's like in the same way that I think with my new Samsung TV remote at the bottom, you know, it's got like here's the Netflix button, here's the Disney Plus button, here's the Prime Video button. Just have an Xbox button.
That'd be wild, dude. And I don't think that's far-fetched from even like a couple of years from now.
Yeah.
Like they were saying because I talked to that Samsung guy at Summer Game Fest for a little while, and he was, is it this year's models or next year's? I can't remember. Every Samsung TV is going to have it now. Because before it was like a higher end kind of thing, like, oh, we're just rolling down this. All of them will have it now. They're going to have access to, well, they did have access to Stadia. RIP. And the Luna, Xbox stuff.
When I plugged my Xbox Series X into my TV, even going through an HDMI pass through, it put the Xbox logo on the input. It renamed the input automatically to Xbox Series X, and it automatically knows when I toggle to it. Like I get the little notification at the top that says like game mode on.
Yeah,
hell yeah, for gamers only.
That's right.
But yeah, I think it's a good spot for us to kind of stop. We've been going for like 2 hours. This is a very.
I think it's the future is they've got a lot of potential. Microsoft does do a lot of cool stuff. I'm still extremely dubious of their first party development and their publishing.
Except Fable, I have no doubts.
Other than Playground
games, no qualms.
That's 90 minimum on OpenCritic.
Yeah, you can clip this and you can send it to me in the future to embarrass me. Fable will no doubt absolutely be a very good video game.
Yeah,
probably.
Peter Molyneux over here saying crazy shit.
I mean, I have a lot of faith in, like, I thought for the longest time since I've owned an Xbox One X, Forza is like my favorite fucking Xbox game, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think you've just brought the data that quantifies that my opinion is statistically correct.
I think the lowest Forza Horizon game was an 88.
Yeah.
Something like
Excellent.
that.
Yeah. But I think that's a wrap. We hope you learned something about kind of the overall Xbox, the deep lore of the Xbox world, if you will. And let us know down below what's something that you think we maybe missed in like all of our analyses of, you know, this kind of like cross-checking all the different Xbox studios. We'd love to hear what like your thoughts are, or, you know, just what studio are you maybe looking forward to the most, of like what's their next big game where you're like, this is it, that's the one I'm excited for. Is it Fable? Have I convinced you? Let us know in the comments down below. We will be back next Monday on the show. We're going to do kind of a deep dive into Final Fantasy 16, all spoilers for it. So if you haven't finished Clive's Wild Journey yet and you want to listen to next week's episode, would recommend doing that.
You need to rush, just skip the side quest. You won't miss anything.
You miss a lot. They're great side quests. The content of them is perfect.
That is true in the last part of the game.
Yeah, so unfortunately, you got to do a bunch of side quests to have those available to you.
Yes. But yes, we'll be back next week. If you're interested in that Final Fantasy spoiler cast, please do check in on that Monday, and we will see you then. Goodbye.